You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Wednesday, the 23rd of May. Younger sister blows whistle in honour killing. Paki-stani bashing at council meeting. Lagarde says Greece must pay for the price for being a member of the Eurozone. State of emergency in northern Italy. Egyptians make a surprise push for the female vote in elections. Iranians meet with world officials in Baghdad to promote the lie. Thought for the day, an honour killing and Muslim expansion. UK news. A Muslim man and his wife, named as Iftikhar and Fazana Ahmed, have appeared in court in Liverpool over the brutal murder of their daughter, named as Shafilia Ahmed. The pair, who live in Warrington, Cheshire, are standing trial after police rumbled a fraudulent insurance claim by the family, organised by the younger sister Alicia. Alicia appears to have turned against her parents and is giving evidence against her parents about the killing of her 17-year-old sister 8 years ago. The decomposed remains of Shafilia were found in Cumbria. Alicia told the court that her parents killed Shafilia by shoving a plastic bag down her throat. They then heard that her father, Iftikhar, wrapped his murdered daughter in bin bags and threw her in the car and drove off. The trial continues. A Labour councillor was held by police over making death threats in a town hall meeting. Khosrow Udin threatened to kill Rania Khan, who was involved with the independent mayor, Lutfur Rahman. There was chaos and screaming that was described as a fracas by onlookers. Udin, 45, has been bailed to return in mid-June. Bangladeshi-born Rahman has been linked to the Islamic Forum of Europe and has taken over a constituency which is under investigation by the Metropolitan Police for election fraud. One reporter commented, "Where is this happening? Pakistan? Bangladesh? No, none other than Tower Hamlets in good old Londistan." Euro news. The International Monetary Fund Managing Director Christine Lagarde has jumped on her soapbox and exclaimed that Greece should do more to stay in the Eurozone and that somebody has to pay the price. It has been reported there are inconsistencies to the Greek population's need to stay in the single currency whilst voting for parties who want to reject the bailout terms. One reporter commented, "I'm not sure she knows the situation. She does not live in Greece. Their situation is terrible and most Greeks want out. However, according to Madame Lagarde in an interview on Channel 4, Greece must accept that being part of the Eurozone has a price. The trouble is that although Britain is thankfully not in the Eurozone, we would be included in this price. Many Greeks want to return to their old drachma and the days before the Euro Union." A state of emergency declared in the northern regions of Italy. The quake, which the US Geological Survey recorded at magnitude 6, struck at 4:04 am and was followed by a series of jolting aftershocks. The country's leader, Mario Monti, has promised all he can do to help his people, and €50 million is being pumped into the region to help aid the clean-up operation. He has urged banks to give loans to damaged companies such as those in towns as Bologna. In San D'Agostino, the earthquake killed at least 6 persons, injured dozens and damaged historical buildings, including a famed medieval castle. The epicentre of Italy's strongest quake in 3 years was near Modena in the Emilia-Romagna region of the Po Valley. The tremors were more deadly than any since 2009, when the central city of L'Aquila was devastated, and were felt as far away as regions bordering France in the west and Slovenia in the east. World news. It has been reported on the BBC that Egypt's presidential candidates have discovered an important but strangely neglected constituency in the elections, which began on Wednesday: the female vote. Polls have revealed that women make up one of the highest undecided voters amongst more than a third of voters that have yet to make up their minds. Women played a prominent role in the demonstrations that led to the downfall of Hosni Mubarak. So far they have not reaped much of a reward. Women's activists fear the Islamist and male-dominated parliament could roll back on women's rights. However, despite this attention lurks the report from Amnesty International that women are excluded from any reforms and their protests are targeted and broken up. As with all Islamic countries, there is a legacy of discrimination against them. World leaders meet with Iranian officials in the Iraqi capital Baghdad. The meeting is to discuss the issue over Iran's nuclear programme. 6 world powers have sent their delegation teams to the meeting. US sources say the meeting could smooth things over and avoid conflict. The main point being whether one is pro or anti-Zionist. Does anyone really believe the Iranians' desire for cheaper electricity? This World at 8 presenter does not. Thought for the day. Well, I wouldn't be me if I did not refer to the rightfully called honour killing in the news at present. What this poor girl went through can only be imagined. When I state that Muslims rarely target Muslim girls, I of course mean for sexual grooming and profit making. Some Muslim girls are targeted by their own families for various and many reasons, bringing dishonour upon the family being one of many. Looking at her parents on the news, I am struck by their passivity and general lack of emotion. The whole sorry mess was raised 8 years ago when Shafilia's decomposed body was found 5 months after she disappeared in 2003. In 2010, both the Ahmed parents were detained but released. There then occurs the very odd so-called robbery apparently orchestrated by Alicia, 23, the younger sister, to clear her debts. Now this is where things get murky. In my research another name has come up, that of Rukish, who apparently also accused her parents in 2010 of killing her sister, when she was arrested for a home robbery but recanted. Which is which, and who is who? Is Alicia Rukish? If not, where is Rukish now? The Ahmeds are Paki-stani born and probably not from high-class roots. They are peasants and are acting as they would have done in their homeland, Pakistan. To some extent these people are encouraged to come to Europe without knowing the ways of Europe. When in Rome, do as the Romans do has died a death long ago. Portophilia, modern school friends, sex, mobile phones, drink, all the vices that Western girls take as the norm must have been so very foreign to her, let alone her parents. Prosecutors say Shafilia Ahmad disappeared in 2003 after she resisted her parents' plans for an arranged marriage. Now, along with the Muslim grooming gangs, these so-called honour killings are going to get worse and more plentiful. They have to, because despite the arranged immigration figures, thousands of Muslims are pouring in every week under the guise of students, relatives, husbands, fathers, daughters, etc, etc, etc. These people are off the radar. When it comes to a country relying on the Muslim vote to install other Muslims into positions of power, then you have to ask yourself, where will it end? The Muslim nations, because that's what it is, a huge nation of different ethnic mixes but one religion, has been trying and sometimes succeeding, getting into Europe by fair means or foul since the Middle Ages. In fact, since Muhammad was known as Muhammad. They are not a peaceful religion and can give the Catholic Church a good run for their money when it comes to conversions or death. There was a good reason why Europe rejoiced when the Turks were defeated by Vlad Dracul in 1462 and when El Cid turned the tide in Spain. Isabella of Spain booted them out kit and caboodle back to the desert in 1492. They didn't put up with all this PC human rights nonsense then. Europe is fighting a medieval enemy, make no mistake. Their entire reason for living and breeding is based on a medieval and none-changing edict. Their current year is set against our Gregorian year of 2012 as 1433, being the amount of years since Muhammad's ascent to prophetdom in the deserts of Arabia, I believe. There is a reason why the old woodcuts and posters of foreigners who were unwanted in Europe had hook noses and Semitic faces, and it was not always Jewish based. The Jews were put in ghettos for their own safety, where they became the money men of Europe, the professors, the thinkers, the jewellers, the artists. What do we have now? Umpteen million sand jockeys. The only thought in their heads is to make money out of us, reduce any indigenous population to third-rate standing, asset strip a country until there is nothing more to take and then establish themselves as benevolent dictators. Europe is playing its part. Brussels and the Human Rights Brigade and the Fourth Reich in Germany favour the Muslims. They yell about Zionists and the New World Order. Where does that put us? Who do we, the British people, go with? I do not like the idea of a mass Zionist plot or the Rothschilds' charter that goes way back to the early 18th century. On the other hand, I do not want to be part of a movement that is slowly allowing the Islamification of the Western world. Nosferatu was a picture made as an anti-foreigner or Semite film in 1922 in pre-war Europe. It would never be made today without the obligatory Jewish director and African-American input. People still stop short in the US putting Muslims on film or indeed in a bad light. The Muslim is an old enemy from the times of the Crusades to now. During the first part of the 20th century, 2 world wars and various communist governments in many countries in Europe plus a fascist one in Spain under Franco, put off the inevitable rush to infiltrate yet again. Now the Muslim encroachment is well underway. How? Immigration brings them into Europe and the Human Rights Act keeps them in. You just have to ask yourself, when has a Muslim ever been tried at the European Court of Human Rights for crimes against humanity in the wars in Bosnia? It is always white Europeans. Although Radovan Karadzic is on trial for his part in reclaiming his country, on the web it is difficult to find mention of any Muslim atrocities perpetrated against non-Muslims. Shortly, Eastern Europe will look as it did hundreds of years ago. Muslim up to Turkey, boundaries of Russia, intrusions into France, Spain, Hungary, et al. What has changed is the Western idea that this should not be allowed. In days of yore, armies would have been raised, if not in the name of a country, in the name of religion. Nowadays, we sit and read and listen to what is happening. Make no mistake, we nationalists have it right. What were you doing when this was happening, Daddy? Daddy? And finally, this story puts the great back into Great Britain. It restores faith in human nature in a world where so little is human anymore. It was reported in the Mail that a student left her handbag containing a purse, credit cards and train ticket in a cab at London's King Cross station whilst going back to uni. The Lost Property Office was closed until Monday morning, so she had to buy a replacement ticket. She then received a call from a Blockbuster video shop asking permission to give her number to a cab driver who had contacted them using the membership number in her purse. The driver then called the girl and returned her bag intact in time for her to get the train. Cheers for Blockbuster and the cab driver. All is not lost, my friends. We are basically a good people. I like a cheerful story. You have been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart and I wish you all a very good night. The decomposed remains of Shafila were found in Cumbria. Alicia told the court that her parents killed Shafila by shoving a plastic bag down her throat. They then heard that her father, Iftikhar, wrapped his murdered daughter in bin bags and threw her in the car and drove off. The trial continues. A Labour councillor was held by police over making death threats in a town hall meeting. Khosrow Udin threatened to kill Rania Khan, who is involved with the Independent in honour killing. Paki-stani bashing at council meeting. Lagarde says Greece must pay for the price for being a member of the Eurozone. State of emergency in northern Italy. Egyptians make a surprise push for the female vote in elections. Iranians meet with world officials in Baghdad to promote the lie. Thought for the day, an honour killing and Muslim expansion. UK News.
You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. Nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Wednesday the 23rd of May. Younger sister blows whistle and mayor looked for Rahman. There was chaos and screaming that was described as a fracas by onlookers. Udin, 45, has been bailed to return in mid-June. Bangladeshi-born Rahman has been linked to the Islamic Forum of Europe and has taken over a constituency which is under investigation by the Metropolitan Police for election fraud. One reporter commented, "Where is this happening? Pakistan? Bangladesh? No, none other than Tower Hamlets in good old..." A Muslim man and his wife, named as Iftikhar and Fazana Ahmed, have appeared in court in Liverpool over the brutal murder of their daughter, named as Shafila Ahmed. The pair, who live in Warrington, Cheshire, are standing trial after police rumbled a fraudulent insurance claim by the family, organised by the younger sister Alicia. Alicia appears to have turned against her parents and is giving evidence against her parents about the killing of her 17-year-old sister 8 years ago.